Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Second hour of the show ate mwene sawa mba mpitayitako mu comment section okulaba ebibuuzo byammwe oba your opinions or suggestions. So mbakubiriza nnyo okulaba nga ate mukozesa comment section oteekamu ebibuuzo byammwe oba endowooza zammwe. Sobola okukozesa Facebook at The Alternative Uganda oba TikTok TV ate oba n'okozesa YouTube ku The Alternative Uganda. Wonna woba otulabidde ekibuuzo kiteeke mu comment section tujja kubanga ate tukiddamu bulungi nnyo. Tuli ku nsonga z'abavubuka. And I have Council Maseruka Sadat here in studios, and he is trying as much as he can. Okulaba nga ate defending the results of youth elections. But I want to tell you, Sadat, that NRM won youth elections by 80%. Atenga mugamba mbu opposition taking yesinga okubeera n'obuwagizi mu bibuga. But also I want you to know that Uganda ngensi eyina ebibuga 11. So if your strongholds muri mu 11 cities nga NRM ina obuwagizi mu byalo, still you need to do much okulaba nga ate mufuna obuwagizi namwe mu byalo, because Uganda is made up of villages okusinga ebibuga.
Ekisooka yo submission iyo okugamba nti NRM eri mu byalo, opposition eri mu bibuga, no. Zina kugambye nti it is true and it is a fact that in Kampala it is an opposition hub.
Okay.
Kampala.
Ate NRM yo eriwa. NRM is not anywhere.
I'm not speaking of anywhere. It's not anywhere.
Okay.
Yes. So it is at least that one. Even obwanga oliso NRM ajja kukikirizako nti here in Kampala the opposition is ahead of them. However, when we went for the youth elections, whatever happened, whatever confusion that happened, it ended up bringing leaders of the youth having been one of the NRM. Dubiously, I have to state this. So it asks and begs the question that really, does this also bring out the frame of the national character? Because as I was telling you, in the law on proportional representation, it is very clear that there are certain things that you cannot fight. That if the opposition, let me say, controls 53% of the youth in this country, also it has to come out clearly that 53% is depicted in the national character of the youth leaders. You cannot claim that the country has the majority of the youth, the majority of youth being opposition. But when you go for the youth elections, that yet the reverse becomes the truth. This is not rocket science.
But so, we also know that
we realize that the challenge or the problem as why we get such outcome arises out of the law, arises out of having leaders that are not actually a true representation of the actual young people, the different ideologies that actually comprise of the Ugandan population. So there can never be unity of the young people. They can therefore not shape.
So there's a coalition building between the youths, within the youths.
The coalition building is sola kubeerawo katusoose ne tutereeza bodies ezitwala abavubuka bonna nga zirwanirira omuvubuka nga ziri bipartisan nga zirwanirira omuvubuka okusinziira ku ki nga omuvubuka bw'atuula ewuwe yeerabamu eyo organization okitegeera. However, this National Youth Council, as it is, majority of the opposition do not find themselves or see themselves in there. Yet, it is the reflection and representation of the young people. Yet they serve the interest of one political party.
So it is not inclusive, you say?
Yes.
And you still assert that elections are free and fair as above all?
There were no elections.
The reason why you performed the way you performed as the opposition?
There was no election in the meaning of a democratic election. Very simple. A democratic election, a public election have definitions.
So then, what does that speak as we head to 2026 elections? Does that mean we are going to experience the same thing?
I do not want to cast aspersions on things that are yet to come. However, what I can state that there is growing animosity and a shift towards more violence by the young people in this election out of frustration with the current system of governance. You have seen it in actually even in the NRM party primaries that there have been a lot of anger and agitation by the young people to take up leadership positions, and many were able to maneuver through in those elections because of that agitation for a new breed and faces in Uganda's politics.
Okay. Away from the National Youth Council, tugende ku youth committees, more political parties, ezamwe belonging. Are these youth political committees doing enough to prepare you to take up positions? Oba nazote zina chezikoze as political parties babateera waawo ka committee ng'ekiguumaza?
Ekisooka growth is personal. However, the youth...
I thought it was collective.
The first thing, growth is personal. Nga gwe omuntu olina okuba nga weekolamu omulimu. Secondly, the collective aspect comes in belonging to a formation that
efaayo
nnyo okulaba nga eguroominga abavubuka n'okubateekako at the forefront in whatever they are doing. Ekyo kiva mu political parties ne youth committees. Mostly youth committees ezimu zaafuuka a problem to the political parties because the youth see themselves with their energy, with their aggressiveness, baba mostly against some of the policies of their political parties. So you'll find that the political parties that have tried to put the youth at the forefront have faced a challenge or a scare that these youth may one day take over or overthrow us. You'll find that you can no longer find a political party that gives the youth a semi-autonomous capacity to do whatever they like and only report to the committees, to the party, because they believe that these young people at any one time, they can organize and take over this institution. So belonging to the youth committees also in some way reduces on one's ambition, because you have to work as a collective, because you have to abide by the party constitution, because you have to abide by some party principles that you may not be believing in. Secondly, there are certain things that you may not be able to do as an individual because you belong to a particular committee that has not endorsed such things. Secondly, you will find that if the top leadership has not taken a deliberate effort to build the young people, it will always be carrying titles of youth leader without any impact that is meaningful to the community and the people that you represent. So you'll find that the political parties all have youth leaders, but very few can come up and speak on issues. Very few can even get interviews on televisions because there is no deliberate effort. There is no way of promoting and
the party leadership
from the party leadership. Yet you'll find that there is a youth belonging to no political formation, however,
being very vocal,
vibrant and visible. So in most cases, because of that scare, there is always a limit and curtailing of the growth of in some political parties to the exclusion of the Democratic Front.
So it is all the same. So kati ngamwe abali these formations mulina magezi chi, how do you plan okulaba nga musolving ensonga eno? Because as the youths we expect that you get empowered from those political formations that you belong to, but then wembanga mulina abakulembeze aba living in fear that if we empower these youths they might throw us. So what are your plans?
Ekisooka ekyokwagala okuoverthrowinga kiva ku insecurity y'aba leaders abamu tebakifaako, abamu bamanyi that at any one moment this organization will be inherited by
another person. Secondly, it is also an issue that the youth must deliberately not look at the youth positions only in political parties. Yes, I am the head of the Human Rights Committee, and I would have said that I want to be in the Youth League. So we should go for positions that make us visible. We should ask for more responsibilities outside the youth positions. We should aspire for positions that actually take us more direct to the people than claiming to be an interest group. But if you are not prepared for that, how can you osobola otya okulamuza ekifo ekyowaggulu naye nga tebakuteeseteese? You
see okuteekateeka kikulu naye n'okwekkiririzaamu kikulu nti obanga tofunye omukisa okuteekateeka leka opportunity ogikozese oyigire ku mulimu. Naye ngawe nkugambye nti obudde abasinga bwe batwala mu kweteekateeka nga bavubuka ate bagenda okumala okweteekateeka nga tebakyali ki bavubuka ate bakyasobola ate kukulembera baki bavubuka. So opportunity bwejja olina ogikozesa and you learn from the job. Secondly, tulina okwekkiririzaamu that we can do anything as long as we are able to seek for guidance and support from our colleagues. There are those abavubuka nga spring up without any form of nurturing. However, upon attaining a certain level, they realize that they need to be nurtured. However, but after securing those positions. So tutunulire beyond the youth positions. Oyagala kwesimba kuba youth leader, oyagala kwesimba National Youth Council, yet you can be an MP, you can be a mayor, you can be a direct councillor, you can be anything, be outside the youth spaces, and the opportunities there to take those positions. So, shaping up politics, to know looking beyond the youth positions. To guarantee strategically, there are certain positions we can occupy in our little capacities, whether we have been nurtured or not, because we are not going to force somebody to nurture you.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Tetujja kuba forcing, but those are the things that we expect from leaders. As a leader, you need to groom people that should come after you. You don't have to be in a position and you expect you'll be there for good. But away from the political leadership and all those formations, tugenda ku system ya Uganda. Do you think the Ugandan system is ready for youth leadership? System nga bwe tugiraba. Olowooza nti eri ready for youth leadership?
There is no time where leadership has never been ready. the people.
But let us look at the system of the country as it is.
The system of the country is very ready. What is the system? We are talking about the people. Whereby if the 90% of the population...
But who is making up those people?
Where 90% or let me say majority of the population is young.
But the young people are not having positions of power.
Yes, and
so they do not influence any policies.
And what I was saying is very clear. These are the critical masses that determine an election. These are the critical masses that determine policy shifts. So the only missing link is them to present themselves to offer leadership, because they have done all the things. If there is a need for a policy shift, it will be the youth that will agitate for that shift. If there is a need for showing up and turning up in numbers to elections, it will be those young people. So the only missing link is the young people presenting themselves as leaders to spearhead these changes. So the country is ready for the youth leadership. However, they have not yet galvanized around the capable leaders amongst themselves to take over, because they are supporting others and they are doing it passionately. They are pushing for changes in the laws and policies passionately. However, they have not gotten an avenue where there is a young person with the capabilities to lead the change they so desire. So the country is ready. The system is ready. However, it is us, the young people, to shape up, rise up and rise to the occasion, not as supporters but as leaders.
Nenga bwogambye nti waliwo abavubuka tuli bangi, we agree. Naye okimanyi nti buli election tubeera ne low voter turn up. Low voter turn up ngate abavubuka tugamba tuli bangi nnyo, ate we are awake to the realities of the country and the political issues that are happening, but still we experience low voter turn up. What is causing that? Is it the fear, the mistrust, or the violence that is happening in the elections?
Low voter turn out is bintu bingi. Ekisooka the too much violence that is depicted pre-elections. So, for instance, whatever the violence ebadde mu kalulu k'abavubuka, violence ebadde mu kalulu ka NRM primaries, casting a doom to the general elections. So very many people, especially women and all people that have a lot to lose in terms of work, in terms of employment, they will not present themselves to vote, or they will not be available to vote. Second, it is the loss of hope and the marginalization of the will of the people. Nti abantu okera kumacha na alonda na ne determining antono gwe twagala tukulembere.
Yes.
At the end of the day ne balangirira atakoze eki atali kusalawo kwabwe. So ekyo kigenda kiba tememe okuddamu okujja bayisinga.
So they do not trust.
But demo okwesiba, because they have lost hope in the way elections are conducted. They have lost trust in ways how the leader, the winner is determined. So, Olina agamba, whether I come or not, at the end of the day, there is a predetermined person to choose. However, we emphasize that that cannot be an issue to stop young people to participate in elections. Yeah. Yes, let we come and speak in large numbers. Let we make the decisions as we see, as we deem it fit. Let's then wait for that decision to be altered. Because tosobola kucomplaininga nga tukoze eki to participate in the yes. In the past, or in some situations, there has been a change of the will of the people. However, continue and make that vote of yours count, because it is not about only voting, it's about participating in the process, voting and protecting that vote.
Kakati mwenga mwe abagala oba abegwanyiza ebifo ebimu abagenda okuparticipatinga in this election that ketuyingira muteeseteese mutya abavubuka bano okulaba nti first they don't shy away from voting, ate ne mindset yabwe ekyuke ku results eziva mu kulonda. Not everyone that participates in an election should come out as a winner. I think voters need to understand that. That even when you participate in an election, chances are high that you might lose or you might win. And that does not stop you from participating again. Yes.
Abantu tebagwamu subi mu kulonda ntulwokuba baluzinze. Bagwamu subi mu byokulonda olwokuba nti process tebadde free and fair. nga process ebadde mad with violence. They are olina akera ku macha ku police station sawa 2 ebyokulonsa nebija sawa 8 olina tuko okulonda nga mu nkala z'abalonzi taliimu olina atuuka nga teyewandiisa olina atuuka okulonda nga mu lwatu. So the process okubeera free and fair yereetera abantu okuluzinga hope participating in the election process, not them losing.
You have always complained about the process not being free and fair, but again, you go ahead to participate in a process that you deem not free and fair.
Yes.
So, why do you expect different results?
We are not.
After participating in the same process, that hasn't changed.
You see, we have always and we are passionate about the issue of electoral reforms. As the Democratic Front, and we are well aware of the current challenges that we are having. However, it is, for instance, when you want to go to school,
yes,
and they tell you that yes, whereas you are going to school, so far the school has not built a classroom it has not built a laboratory, but they're offering science classes. So the question is, will you stay at home for the next 1 or 2 years old, you study as they are building the laboratory for the practicals? So that is what we are in. We are pushing for electoral reforms. However, as they are on their way, we are supposed to participate in the process as it is, so that we do not give a leeway to the continued impunity.
So mugamba nti katugende to participating yadde tetusuubirayo kyanjawulo, tetusuubira results zituzaamu maanyi, so you are merely participating.
We are participating, not expecting different results.
Not expecting any difference.
We are participating because without participation we cannot push for the reforms that we are seeking for. That's why we are saying that the electoral processes must have electoral reforms. However, if they delay to come, does that mean we let people participate in an election the way it is, and we should let only one side dominate also the fraud process?
Singa mwe abawakanya ekibiina ekiri mu buyinza, singa mwe ekolamu omulimu ne mugamba nti we are not going to legitimize this election olw'ensonga nti it has never been free and fair bukyanga tufuna multi-party dispensation, and we are saying we are not participating in an election that is conducted in that way, and so we see that the opposition of Uganda isn't participating in an election.
You see, to control the opposition of Uganda.
Because what is opposition? Creating unity.
Moving slowly. There is no political party called opposition in Uganda. Do you agree there is no political party that is called opposition in Uganda?
And no one has said that, but we say.
You are saying, you are making a collective of opposition whereby people have different ideas and aspirations. While you, abakugamba, we are not going to go for elections without meaningful electoral reforms. Wali ajja kugamba that yes, whereas we are pushing for electoral reforms, we shall participate in the process as is, so that we put more pressure to have electoral reforms. There are those that will be comfortable to participate in an election as is. So wogamba nti the opposition should shun the entire election. My question is, there is nothing that can create such an atmosphere, because opposition political parties are not one entity, and the unity you are talking about, is viewed differently, because the issue of common concern can be in other different avenues. I can disagree, I can agree not to participate in an election, but I can agree to support another candidate. I can agree to participate in that election, but again, to help other candidates to protect their votes. So the issue of saying that we can all shun an election has never, where in the world have you ever found a political competition whereby it is only one political setting without an independent, because the ruling government will at least bring an opposition candidate to legitimize that election. We cannot allow that. That's why we are saying participation, while we are seeking for reforms, has to be a must, so that we do not
who are
allow
the people seeking these reforms?
The people seeking for these reforms are the people of the Republic of Uganda through their representatives in the opposition.
And for how long have they taken nga basikinga reforms zino?
There were reforms there were reforms that were actually determined and decided by court. And those are the reforms we are talking about. When in the 2016 election, the Amamba Mbabazi petition, court said that the following should be organized so that we have a free and fair election. Those elements that the court talked about, the Supreme Court, are some of the reforms that we are talking about. These reforms have not in any way been implemented or be given an opportunity to be implemented, including others that have been presented by members of parliament. And these are meant to safeguard the integrity of the election, the access to national media by all contestants, the campaigning time, and in places, and security of candidates in an election, and also the conduct and transmission of elections electronically from the village to the National Tally Center. Those are the things that have not been worked upon.
So what gives you the hope to think or to believe that these reforms are going to be implemented in the same system that hasn't implemented them for the years that have passed?
I do not understand the question.
Reforms is, ogambye omukulu Amama Mbabazi yatekawo omusango and the court ruled, and you are saying ebyo ebyayogerwa bye muli kusiikinga bikolebwe as reforms. Kakati kiki ekibawa okukkiriza nti bino bigenda kukolebwa in the same system gye muzze mulwanyisa?
First of all, it was not a decision, it was not a request by court. It's a judgment of court.
But we have seen judgments being disrespected. Is it the first time?
And we are waiting on to that, because we are telling you that court determined and told that this must happen before going for an election, and that is in black and white.
Yes.
Yes. The only opportunity
will that stop an election happen?
The opportunity we had towards solving that problem was when we went for the 2021 election.
Yes.
This case that was filed was withdrawn prematurely, because that would have been the first ground that there is contempt of the previous orders that were given by this honorable court. We are waiting, and we are going, if not they implemented
omusango gwa omukulu ow'ekibiina kya NUP gwe yateekayo mu kooti gw'ogamba nti gwali bawadde omwaganya okulaba nga ate muteeka obuzito ku government okubanga eteeka mu nkola kooti bye yali esazeewo.
Because the only way to implement a court order, it's not an issue of cherry picking what orders to follow, not by any person in this country.
Chito.
However, the only way to bring your issues before court is by going again before court.
True.
We had an opportunity that we did not exploit, and we are telling you that yes, we are very optimistic that the moment
you are going to have an opportunity in 2026 again.
Any moment the opportunity is presented, I can, and when such anomalies are not rectified, we may say surprise in this in that petition.
Talking about the petition, how do you rate the NUP effect ku bavubuka?
What do you mean?
The people power movement and all that. Everything that came with the people power and everything.
Well, it was an opportunity to bring on young people, very many that had been elsewhere, not participating in politics, to start having interest in the politics of their country. However, whereas it was a good initiative, it did not also create safeguards on to train them and take them through steps on how a good leader behaves. Yeah. So whereas it brought very many people and created awareness amongst a largest section of the population that was not concerned about politics, it at the same time did not provide the safeguards and avenues of giving them the right message and ideology for which to follow in exercising their freedoms and rights. So
the reason why they started the leadership school?
The leadership school, I don't know what is taught there. I've never been there, and I don't like to comment about it. Well, I'm only commenting about the conduct of the people that I'm seeing. I don't know whether they went to the leadership school or not, or there are those that went to the leadership school and they trained to behave in that way, which I don't agree with. But however, keeping other factors constant, the leadership school being available, it is a step in the right direction to show that whereas you are energetic enough, you have an understanding and a following of the politics of your country, you at the same time must exercise those rights responsibly and without infringing on others, without spreading hatred and any form of malicious content. So the issue is that it was a novel idea, a brilliant ushering in of vibrant young leaders in the country. However, it did not anticipate the conduct of many of these of its followers, and the only way to conduct and control the narrative is by taking and nurturing, training and teaching them of the true ideology the party professes, the communication structures of the party, and how to conduct themselves as representatives of that institution.
When we look at the things the way they are, it seems, it looks like they identified that gap, the reason why they started the leadership school, to kind of, bridge the gap. Basobola okubanga ate batandikira ddala okufulumya abakulembeze abajjudde. Naye nga tuvudde ku nsonga enjala tugendeko ku tuli mu digital era. And I want us to analyze how youths are using these digital tools okulaba nga they are trying to kind of push back or even advocate for their rights. Tulaba from Twitter Spaces to TikTok lives, olaba nti the youths are loud. Why is this not translating into votes and some kind of energy ground?
Virtual spaces ziri available globally. Era determinant ya virtual spaces a rhyming and internet penetration gwanga. So the level of internet penetration in Uganda ekyali wansi. So that is why nti message online tegenda wala nnyo
mu byalo etali internet.
Yes, olw'okuba nti the penetration ekyali wansi. Secondly, the costs of purchasing and having internet data. Nti oli ne bwabanga internet waaliwe etuukawo, naye omuwendo gwasasula okujja accessinga guli waggulu, so nagwo ne gureducinga the spread of that information downwards. Secondly, also the penetration of smartphones in this country. Yes, people can communicate, or at least everybody has a phone, at least every village there is a phone. At least at every village there is somebody that has a phone number. But that doesn't mean that at every village or in every household there is a WhatsApp or there is a smartphone. So remember that digital tools and digital communication largely rhymes with a smartphone. Secondly, also the atmosphere or the virtual space is a global space. You may have a conversation online that is contributed to by majority of people that are outside the jurisdiction of Uganda. But because it is a virtual space, it is for all global citizens. So you'll find that there is a different demand at the ground because they have no avenue to exercise their views online, different from what the online community has. Because the online community is now international. It is thinking globally. But what does our villages, our communities talk about? Yes, so ekyo kiretawo some level of imbalance. However, the penetration of internet, so far as it is, we are in the right direction because it has determined a lot of things in this country in terms of policy shift, in terms of holding accountable to most of the leaders, in terms of reducing that bureaucracy and space between you filing a complaint, receiving feedback. You can do so online. And now you'll find that we are interacting directly with our leaders without having formally to move from, let me say, Matuga to come to Kampala and air out your complaint. It also it has created also an avenue of airing out people's frustrations, other than the ways that the frustrations were being held. However, nacho chiwekeninze mu activism.
How?
Nti activism really yali physical. People will demonstrate, people will agitate, and they will come to the streets. Now, they will form an online space. They will fight online. They will agitate virtually. They will create an hashtag, which to governments like the one we have here...
Doesn't this create an impact?
It creates a very small impact than when they know that, that people in this area, business are closed, there's no revenue, no car is moving, people are demonstrating, they are out in numbers to show that they are dissatisfied with particular action. However, it has some elements that
so
are... So
isn't there a way the youths can use these digital tools to do political organizing?
Yes, they can. They can.
In what ways?
The way youth are organizing themselves in Kenya is that the youth identify issues of common concern. They galvanize their demands and issues, agitating for a policy shift and government action in that direction. However, the challenge is that Kenya has 80% internet penetration. Uganda is still lagging behind. The cost of internet data in Kenya is very low compared to that of Uganda. The penetration of technology in Kenya has surpassed that of Uganda. So that is why if a campaign starts online in Kenya, it ends up in the communities, and the communities back that up with support on the streets. In Uganda, it starts online, ends online.
There is something that started online, and it actually ended on the ground. The March to Parliament. March to Parliament started online on Twitter. Didn't it end on the ground?
Yes, it was a very commendable approach towards using digital tools to agitate for social change in Uganda. And it was the first of its kind that people online were able to agitate against corruption and actually follow it up by galvanizing the grassroots to march to Parliament. However, when you look at the subsequent events that happened thereafter, it shows that there was no clear direction over that particular activism. However, we agree that it is commendable and it was a step in the right direction. However, it is also not without challenges that I have earlier talked about. Nti mu Uganda internet wa bei. Mu Uganda internet teri buli wamu.
Nti abantu abamu tebabimanya balaba bulabi bavubuka ku street.
Yes, also literacy levels, because these social media platforms, you must have some level of literacy to operate them, and also to read and follow the messages that are there.
Yes.
So also this one also, whereas people may want to be interested, they do not have the intellectual capacity to read and follow, and also to make comments, and also to be part of that campaign.
Oyogede nogamba nti online activism ayina engeri gyayononyemu physical activism.
Yes.
Nti abantu abali bajjanga ku street ne ba demanding for what they feel better go kubifuna tekikyabeerawo. So how then do we bridge the gap between keyboard warriors namwe the physical activists abali ku ground?
There is nothing unique. Bridging a gap eyo nchidamu ichiva having a correlation with what is being demanded for online and what is actually the demands
happening
on the ground. Yes, otuka ku online space or online hashtag nga demand zayo zili kangambe
ziri far-fetched
and more realistic. Now, ku ground bad demanding bintu bili basic. So kati correlation yeyo chovolaba nti march to Parliament yali able okureachinga the ground because corruption was an issue that is identified by all Ugandans at the grassroots and in the online spaces. They were seeing the effects of that corruption. They were seeing the money being spent on corruption was affecting not only those that are in online spaces, but also even those at the grassroots. So there must be identification of issues of common cause that bridge and that surpass the online spaces and individuals at the grassroots.
All levels.
That's the only solution.
Wow, show yaffe etambudde era tunaatera okuba nga ate tugimaliriza naye kijja kuba unfair nga tetunuulidde ku challenges abavubuka abali mu kwegwanyiza ebifo bino ebyobukulembeze ze bali mu kufeesinga nga banoonya obukulembeze buno. You being one of those that are contesting for a position mu the coming election, what are those challenges ze muli mu kufeesinga as the youths?
Yes, abavubuka in an election challenges ziri biri. Esooka, it is the social construct. Society yaffe ya constructing wanti mwina kulembera muntu mukulu. So abavubuka ebeesobolayo okusaba ebifo eby'obuvunanyizibwa mu bifo eby'amaanyi, sometimes batwalibwanga abatalina bumanyirivu bumala okutwala society maaso. Batwalibwanga abatalina buvunanyizibwa bumala okubanga bakulembera abantu. So abantu ne babanga tebakuwa mukisa kuwuliriza oba kuwa opportunity kusavinga olw'okubanga ba atakinze egiyo ku busobozi bwo oba byosobola okukolera eggwanga n'abantu. N'ekirala nti politics wa Uganda are so commercialized, and in the 2026 elections, we expect to have the highest commercialized election. Really, according to reports, really, that an election is between 2,000 to 5,000. Neyambuka netuka to 5,000 to 20,000. Katuli 10,000, 50,000 and above. Okubanga bagula akalulu. So you find that abavubuka abasinga challenge eyo bayamanyi nti otuuka mu bantu nga bakizimba mu bonti omukulembeze naye nakutuwa sente. So on top of that abavubuka tebalina such kind of resources. Kubanga yakava mu university oba yakakola emyaka 2 oba 5 talina sente ezo zimala kugenda nga agula abantu so that bamulonda. Ate n'okulonda omuntu nga amaze okugula, it is bad practice in politics. So challenges zitulolekedde ziri one, culture and social constructs nti tebatera nnyo ku believing nti abavubuka basobola okuba ab'omugaso kati babasuubira kuba bamugaso mu maaso. So ne bagaana okutuwa obuvunanyizibwa kati nga beekwasa emyaka n'ebintu ebirala obuntu obutonotono. Then ne tudda ne ku kya ssente, omuwendo gw'olina okuteekamu okulaba nga olondebwa
gwe mutalina
gwe tutalina ng'abavubuka.
Kati mu planinze kukola ki, because the monetization of politics is here and I don't think it is going to go away in the next 5 years.
Yes, and I want to tell you, and I'm actually following the election of the NRM, ojja kumanya nti sente is not the maker of a leader. It is actually the message that you have for the people and the aspirations that you want to bring in your community. Nti abasinga mwaka akalulu, by the way, balina sente impitirivu naye ate bebasinga okukubwa akalulu. Abasinga njogerako abasimba n'abavubuka, you will go in West Nile, you will go in Eastern Uganda, nti abavubuka bawangula ebifo nga tebalina sente naye olw'okuba message gye baali batuuse eri abantu. So solution abavubuka gye tulina okuba we must be well grounded in our message. What do we want to do for the people? What are our views in regards to leadership that we find that can take the people from one step to another? N'abantu abaweebwa sente tebakikola lwakuba nti it is their occupation, because elections happen once in 5 years. So naye beetaaga services ennungi, beetaaga ekitiibwa era beetaaga okukolerwa ebintu ebyolubeerera. Togenda kusuubira nti ojja kubibakolera nga tusoose crafting a message ebatuukako galvanizing abantu abo bonna era most cases abantu abateekawo ssente okulondebwa taba na message n'ekirala aba abika inefficiencies abadde ebisanja 4 sadde ebisanja 5 nga
talina kyakoledde
answers zalina okubawa it is by silencing them with money. So eyo si approach avuka gye balina okwetaaga kwetaaga ku crafting a message kubeera nga orizonatinga ne population n'ebiruubiro lwa population n'okuyimirira mu aspirations nti wetukola bwe tuti tugenda ekitundu kyaffe kijja kukola ki kijja ku advance nga n'okusaba obwesige nga tuli respectful kuba osanga oli nga olw'okuba muvubuka ayagala kuvuganya so ayagala ata abakadde bonna bali ku kyala asooke abayiseemu amaaso olw'okuba asuubira nti bajja kuwagira mukadde munnaabwe naye niwerabira nti nabo balina abaana tebandiyagadde kulaba muzadde waabwe nga disrespectingibwa. So ebyo byonna wetuba nga neneeyisa yaffe wetugikwatako kitutwala mu maaso okulaba nti tufuna obwesige nga tetutaddeemu nakyamaanyi n'olwa message gye twagala n'ebyo bye tulina mu bwongo okuweereza abantu ba.
But some political analysts allege that mwe ng'abavubuka temulina busobozi bubasobozesa ku taking up these positions nti yadde nga babawa space okulaba kugamba nti okay tukusimbyewo jangu ovuganye ku kyaka tugeze nga Kampala MP nti mwe ng'abavubuka temulina capacity eyo nti okujjako kyemumanyi nti twakoye dictator agende, you do not have the skills, you do not have the capacities of a leader, so tebasobola kubanga babawa obukulembeze that you have not built yourself for.
A narrative weri incham because abavuka be interactinga nabo be bayitanga babagazaako kintu kimu kutimba bipande kunoonya kalulu kulwana na kuma boxing obulukola ki
bulondebwa.
So kati having a conversation n'omuntu ngo atamanyi nti yes they are young people that have created themselves and built themselves to offer leadership. Tajja kitwa because ye kifaananyi kyalina ekyomuvubuka yoli gwadiringa naye
gwatambula naye ku
era question entuufu yandibadde nti werazo oyagala ogamba nti abavubuka they are not ready bameka b'ogulumiza okubeera nga batakinga space gwe gyolimu before castigating abalaba okola ki.
But then why are you waiting to be groomed?
Nanti ogambye nti they are not ready to take spaces. They are not capable of taking spaces. Because
temu building the skills is your skills are really
skills.
Basic.
Yes, the basic skills I can agree to a large extent that some of the young people tebaina the basic capabilities okukola ebintu ebimu. However, gwe ngali concerned what initiative you're taking kulaba nti at least in my community wabeerawo abali capable to take over because you are not going to be there forever. Secondly, it is not true nti abavubuka tebeezimbye. What is true is that abavubuka babateekamu embeera nti olw'okuba muli bavubuka olw'okuba mulina amaanyi ekyammwe kirina kubeera ki gwe guno omugabo gwabwe mu struggle
kyakozesa maanyi si bwongo
nakozesa maanyi si bwongo kati ne making sure ne beerabira nti basobola okuweebwa opportunities and ate ne ba performing excellently nga teziri siza kukozesa amaanyi siza kukozesa mubiri naye olw'okuba nti opportunity eyo tenabeera available oli bwakugambira nti temuli ready ku taking over lwansonga nti batuulawe bati mu meeting omuvuka gwe balowoozaako yoli ajja okujja mu kiseera ky'okwekalakaasa mu kiseera ky'okutimba ebipande ne bagaa nti n'oyo yennyini oyo wabanga wedde obuvunaanyizibwa nti kati gwakuli abavubuka ku kyalo kino era ajja kuteekawo obukulembeze obwavubuka obulungi naye olw'okuba nti kiri mu mindset yaabo abakozesa abavubuka nti omuvubuka ali bw'ati.
Lwaki abavubuka muli mu kukkiriza babakozese?
Tetukkiriza batukozese.
Systems zibaleetera okukozesebwa.
Tugamba nti sealing eyo yateekebwawo ne creatingibwa mu mbeera nti aba controlling opportunities dominating a means of survival and opportunities bateekawo embeera nti the only opportunity that is available for a young person to participate. For instance, oli wabanga constituting a campaign team ye tajja kugamba nti omuvubuka gundi yababeera chief campaign manager wange oba yaba ba spokesperson wa campaign yange. No, yajja kumakinga sure nti ekituuka ebyemifumbi ebyokulanjaga nonya bavuka wana
timu yange abavuka tuzimbe Egaali
nonya bavuka wana abanamperekera nga betode emotoka yange nonya bavuka bano. So kati sikukiriza kukozesebwa. However, the available opportunities where we want to contribute to change zezo bakutereddewo. It is only when we was to kind of gather that enough is enough. Kino sikyaddamu kikola kino sobola kukikola. Also the the levels of poverty we are having. Those that control the means they want to employ you or to use you as they deem fit. So the only way to also challenge that avubuka kwe kunoonya their own source of livelihood. Kubanga oliwo abanga opportunity jasobola okuwa yakubeera bounce awo because ajja kuba kusasula okitegeera. However akozesa mubigo takozesa ki bwongo obwo. So the only solution to that is getting gainful employment so that osobola okukozesa obwongo obwo nti wejja ku table naawe otesanga abalala because you are not controlled by any other person that is controlling your means of survival. So it is about economic empowerment of the young people. Okay. It's about creation of awareness amongst the young people that whereas we are energetic, we are also intellectually fit to occupy and represent in certain spaces, that we can have our own resources that we can use in advancing our ideas so that we are not used by those that are actually controlling these spaces.
Okay. Nga tumaliriza njagala twogere ku nsonga ey'okuzimba Egaali. Because Egaali zino ezizimbiddwa zibeera mu bavubuka. We have never seen all the people mu gaali ezo. Naye nga tuwitnessinga primary za NRM twalaba violence yakolebwa Egaali ezazimbibwa. Omukulembeze w'ekibiina ekimu yagamba abaagala okwesimbawo n'agamba nti muzimbe Egaali zammwe, Egaali ezo zijja bayambako okuuma akalulu kammwe. But we want to analyze the impact of Egaali zino after election zigenda kuba zikola ki? Because even during election tutandise okulaba walaba clip eyayita ensambi awo nanga abaana bajjudde mukubo ebakusanga ku boda bakunyakulako esimba bakunyakulako ensawo azin amaduka nga bagayingira. These are the gangs that we are building to protect obululu bwe tulowooza nti buyinza okubbibwa.
First of all, I received a different definition
of Egaali. What is your definition of Egaali?
We are not the initiators of the word Egaali.
Gwe wokiwulira ki ekikugira?
Mpulira a gang. However, according to the narrative of those that are talking about
creating
Egaali, they are talking of something totally different, which I'll give them a benefit of doubt. However, what I'll talk about is the increased apathy, unemployment and criminality amongst the youth in areas that we call the ghettos. Yes, anti beba n'abavubuka abaluzinga da hope mu society. Beba bavubuka abatalina mirimu. Beba bavubuka abali educated, bright and energetic naye nga babuliddwa diverting n'okuteeka amaanyi gaabwe. So election times we zituuka because they are idle, they are energetic and intelligent, babeera bali available
to do anything to change their station in life.
What has been unfortunate is that the government has not come out to find solutions to these people in form of creating for them employment. But they have come out also to see and exploit the opportunity to use them as militias in an election. So it is creating a huge cycle of violence in these communities. Nti wajja kubeerayo Egaali kangambe opposition. Wabeerayo n'Egaali ruling government. So in the clash there, we do not know what will happen thereafter. Okitegeera. However, it is the role of government to protect every citizen and to provide avenues for gainful employment for every citizen. So creation, things like PDM, would have been the right decisions to see that these people find what to do to sustain themselves, other than galvanizing them and creating them into formations that are vote protecting tools and vote hunting tools.
Abavubuka nanti mwagala nnyo sente ez'amangu because babaterawo initiatives ezibawa sente nga PDM, you do not go to involve yourselves in such initiatives.
PDM okujoogerako si kujoogerako that it is the best intervention that we are having.
It is one of the initiatives that
it
the
is
government
an existing
has put
initiative,
up.
but not one of the best initiatives that is meant to elevate and uplift.
But there has been a lot of initiatives for the young people. Skilling Uganda is there.
You see, the issue is that when you're fighting symptoms, you can never cure a disease. So whereas there have been many initiative, youth livelihood program, what and what, those are just symptoms. What is the problem? The problem is in the governance of this country. The problem is in having leaders that do not retire. So where would a young person with a PhD who has been trained to work in a hospital get a job when the existing surgeon is at 90 years old and is not retiring? And it goes back to all other levels of employment in the civil service and elsewhere, and even in politics. So you giving such a person 1 million, 2 million, 3 million to it is just trying to fight a symptom but leaving the actual disease. So abavubuka tebagala sente z'amangu, naye ate abavubuka tebagala kubeera mu situation eya desperacy. Byoyogerako okwagala sente z'amangu is as a result of the desperate situation that they have been put in. What comes at the moment when you are desperate is to act the way you are acting. You cannot leave your home having left your children at home without food, and you are finding somebody moving freely in a country where you believe that you also have equal shares, moving with a smartphone of 3 million Uganda shillings when you're looking for only 200,000 Uganda shillings to take your child to school. Chufulaba nti bebavaayo ko nga bazze ne balaba ebitundu ebirala ebya Uganda bamaliriza batandise kubba abantu because they do not see themselves in that Uganda. They find that actually these people that are having these things, they're actually enjoying the privileges that they would have been into. So it is the level of desperacy, the level of living, alienating certain communities out of the development of this country that is creating this situation. Example njakuwa ya apartheid in South Africa, that the white community and the black communities were separated by a fence. But once in a while they could spill over, not to see the kind of development that the other side, but to steal and bring this side because they feel that the things that are the other side are supposed to be this side. So the level of desperation that the people are put into, alienating them from the economy, creates a situation whereby nobody is safe.
Okay, thank you so much, Council Maseruka Sadat. Nga tumaliriza show yaffe y'olunaku lwa leero nkusaba olekereyo omuvubuka message.
Yes, abavubuka mbagamba nti twenyigire mu byobufuzi by'eggwanga byaffe mu mbeera zonna zisobola. Osobola okwesimbawo, osobola owagira abavubuka banno, era osobola okweteekateeka okuba citizen omulungi. Tekitegeeza nti olina kwesimbawo oba olina kwogera ku byabufuzi.
To be a good citizen.
You know kubanga really you participate gainfully in the economy of this country. You contribute to policy changes and shifts in this country that are for pro-youth and for pro-people. Abavubuka tuwenyo obudde okweguroominga, okweteekateeka nti there is time whereby the country will be relying on you. But you must be at that time also ready to hold and take on the mantle. So I leave you with a message that with hope, the youth shall shape Uganda's politics.
Well, thank you so much, Council Maseruka Sadat. It has been great having a conversation with you. Naddala ekwatira ddala ku bavubuka, ensonga z'abavubuka, and how they should participate in this election okulaba nga ate by influencing the results ze tuyinza okufuna mu 2026. Mbadde balabi balungi abatambudde naffe okuva ali we tutandikidde ku ssaawa 2 ne Mighty Global Updates ate paka wano we tuwunzikidde show yaffe ey'olunaku lwa leero. Nja kubaagaliza olunaku olungi tusinkane olunaku olw'enkya essaawa zigenda kubeera 2 and Kenneth will be here giving you the updates that happened ate mu bitundu mwoba tewabadde. Mbere bulungi mweraba.